Landing a drone on common property is strictly forbidden, and this asphalt mess is completely unacceptable. You are in direct violation of multiple covenants.
At 6:12 a.m. on May 3, 2024, I stepped outside in socks and got hit with cold air and the stink of hot asphalt. Floodlights lit my yard. A roller growled while two workers spread fresh black mix over my brick sidewalk, the one that leads to my porch. My doormat was inches from the edge. At the curb, the HOA president stood in a robe with a steaming mug, smiling like she ordered this. I yelled, "Stop. That's my walkway." She said, "It's community access now." By sunrise, my bricks were half buried and my patience was gone. I kept thinking one sentence like a warning label: HOA paved my sidewalk over a bogus deed. Then the drone photo hit the courtroom screens. They claimed the strip beside my porch was common area. It's deeded to my lot. Not shared. The chair waved a single page and said, "We have paperwork." I asked, "Whose paperwork?" She tapped the page like it was sacred and told the crew to keep going. At 9:00 a.m., I went to the clubhouse with my closing packet and the survey map my lender made me sign. The board rep barely glanced at it. The president slid her page across the table, blurry and crooked, like it came from a cheap copier. I pointed at the lot number and said, "That's not mine." She smiled and said, "It's an easement." I asked for the full file and the vote record. She said, "Request denied." Neighbors nearby stared at the carpet like eye contact cost money. I tried reason first, because I like peace and I like sleep. I emailed on May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th. I asked for a pause, a meeting, and a copy of the deed. No insults. No threats. Their reply was one sentence: "Stop interfering or we will fine you." By lunch, a fine hit my account, $250, labeled obstruction. That's when I drew my line. Proper channels only. If they wanted paper, I would bring paper. On May 6, I drove to the county records office and took a number at the clerk window. The clerk slid a stamped packet under the glass, and the file landed with 74 pages. The deed copy was tied to a different block. I paid for a certified plat map and a GIS overlay printout. Back home, I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. Timeline Item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. I had two more complaint numbers after that, all tied to the same board email thread. I hired a surveyor for $500, and he talked like every word could end up in court. He found the iron pins, marked them with bright flags, and measured the pour. Almost 2 feet over my line. Then I used my little drone, the one I fly to check gutters. Noon light. Straight up over my roof. High enough for a wide view, and aimed only at my lot. The video caught the flags, the bricks, and the fresh asphalt crossing the boundary like it owned it. On May 21 at 2:30 p.m., the judge heard my request to stop more work. The HOA attorney held up the blurry deed and said the sidewalk was common. The president sat behind him in a blazer, wearing the same smug face. My attorney plugged in my file. The screen lit up, and my drone photo filled the courtroom screens. The GIS overlay matched the survey pins. You could see the asphalt cutting into my lot like a black scar. The chair's smile shut off. The judge asked, "Who told you this was yours?" Outside the courthouse, the neighborhood energy flipped. My phone buzzed with the group chat like a swarm. Someone wrote, "The drone shot is insane." Another wrote, "She finally got caught." At the mailbox, a neighbor whispered, "I was scared to speak up." A dad at the bus stop said, "I watched them pour at 6:00 a.m. and thought I was crazy." Two teens filmed the president walking to her car, not close, just obvious. Even the quiet lady from Unit 14 said, "I saved every email you sent me." The next day, May 22nd at 10:15 a.m., a county inspector showed up because my complaint included the survey, the drone stills, and the permit search. He walked the line, took photos, and said, "There's no permit on record for this pour." He noted encroachment onto a recorded lot line and improper work staging near a drain. He issued a stop work notice and wrote 4 violations on the spot. He also asked about the trespass calls and the fine, because the deputy report was attached. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. He copied the county attorney on the notice and gave the HOA 10 days to remove the encroachment or face penalties. That's when you could feel the spell break, and it wasn't just in the courtroom. At the next HOA meeting, people sat straighter, like someone finally turned the lights on. The usual back row silence was gone. Phones stayed out, screens glowing in laps, recording every vote and every shrug. Not for drama. For proof. When the board rep tried his fast talk, 3 homeowners calmly asked him to slow down and repeat it. A neighbor who never speaks raised a hand and said, "Show the permit number." Another said, "Read the lot line out loud." You could hear people typing notes, click click, like rain on a tin roof. The chair kept tugging her necklace, blinking hard, like oxygen was getting thin. She wasn't the main character anymore. Facts were. By early June, the pavement came out the same way it went in, loud and messy, but this time the mess had a purpose. A crew arrived at 7:40 a.m. with saws and a dump trailer and cut back the encroaching strip. They reset my bricks and topped the edge with fresh soil. Neighbors watched from porches, not cheering, just relieved. Then the bigger change spread down the street. People started saving screenshots of notices and asking for minutes before rumors took over. When someone tried to whisper, "Don't make trouble," another neighbor said, "Trouble already came. We're just measuring it now." Even kids drew chalk arrows on the sidewalk that said property line, like a joke that taught a lesson. On June 10, 2024, I stood on my clean brick path with coffee and listened to birds instead of machinery. The fine was removed, my survey and filing costs were reimbursed, and the HOA had to send a correction letter to all 112 homes. The president resigned 2 days later for personal reasons, and suddenly nobody remembered her big plans. I slid my binder onto a shelf, labeled May 2024, and closed the cabinet like I was closing a chapter. Turns out the loudest revenge is a calm folder and a clear line. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and share. Was the HOA wrong? Drop a comment.